I really think this top 5 list is scary enough to stop you from finishing. Let's see if you can prove me wrong. Number 5. In 2010, a man from South Jersey named Nick mysteriously went missing. His older brother Mark vanished shortly thereafter. Their small town was devastated by these back-to-back disappearances and feared the worst. There wasn't a shred of evidence for police to go off of, at least not until a few months later when one of Nick's high school acquaintances receives this mysterious post office package. Inside the package are memory cards and hard drives with hundreds of videos to analyze. Eerily enough, the return address was Nick's house, so either Nick sent this himself or someone else mailed it on his behalf well after his disappearance. Perhaps it was sent by whoever was responsible. A lot of the videos are typical teenage vlogging material you'd expect from 2010. Basic stuff like making a sandwich or watching TV. But on the other hand, there are at least 30 videos containing super creepy information relevant to his whereabouts, or should I say his possible remains. Let's retrace Nick's steps. On September 3rd, 2010, Nick goes to the notoriously haunted Pleasant Mill Cemetery in Batstow, Jersey to see what he can find. On the other side of an old bridge in the woods, he sees some 1800 burial markers and an old church that makes him feel creeped out. Though whatever he thinks he sees while standing on this bridge is what freaks him out the most. This is where voices are said to sometimes be heard on the water. Tell me if you see anything. I honestly can't say I see anything strange, but maybe something was there that didn't show up on camera. The video ends with him running back to his car looking very serious and scared, wide eyes and all, so he probably really did see something strange. He never wants to go back there again, but at sometimes the experience eats away at him until a week later on September 10th, when he goes back to settle his curiosity once and for all, this time with his friend Austin. Night has fallen by the time they arrive. There's not much activity by the old church, so they walk over to the river. They don't hear anything and aren't really that scared, so they challenge each other to sit in the darkness under the bridge. The very same bridge where Nick first saw something, mind you. And as soon as their lights go out, they make contact.
You hear that?
When they turn their lights on to see what's out there, they see this broad goblin-like face looking back at them, soon followed by a splash of water, like something jumping at them, or else reaching up from the depths below. Away they run and away it follows. I don't know what this thing is, but since they've disturbed its home twice now, it decides to return the favor. What you're about to witness happened on the very same night. Nick sees movement behind this curtain wall and thinks it has to be his older brother Mark. It certainly looks like someone's hands, and yet no one's there. Suddenly it grows very cold where he's standing, cold enough to see his own breath, which is odd considering it isn't cold enough to see his breath when he's outside looking for Mark.
Oh.
They really should have stopped going there, but on September 18th they try again. This time, after following these strange lights in the woods, they discover something they were never meant to have. This nondescript book has no title, but I want to know more about this strange binding. It looks like part of a protective ritual, or maybe even a curse upon whoever opens it without permission. Nick grabs it and they go get something to eat, and that's subsequently when they start getting followed even worse than ever before. By now, Nick and Austin have developed somewhat of an unhealthy obsession with the Pleasant Mill Cemetery. It scares them, but it also attracts them and they can't stop going. Maybe something there is enticing them to return. Something that wants its book back. And the more times they visit, the stronger its presence becomes at home.
What? Tired of this. Wait. What the?
When you look at the picture before it falls at 10 minutes and 28 seconds, I think it's a picture of Mark, the older brother who would soon disappear. On September 27th, Nick and Austin make a discovery that they seem to shrug off but I think is important. It's inside of an old house that they find not too far from the cemetery. The outside looks like it went ablaze a long time ago. Through a square hole in the floor, they spy an area that looks like it could have been a secret chamber when covered. They get a really bad feeling and don't want to go down, but Austin makes a simple observation that I think speaks volumes.
Oh, it smells. Alright, we're wasting time. We gotta go.
It could be mold, or it could be a body that hasn't been disturbed in quite some time. Things get really crazy after they discover the possible body. By November 2nd, Mark is gone and nobody knows where he went. Nick goes back to the cemetery to look for his brother, and this final recording is what he finds. A tall figure with an all-white face marches toward him, with a long tool in his hand. All I will say is that it looks like Nick sadly met the same fate as his brother. Number 4. If you've been watching scary countdowns for a while, then you've probably come across this video at some point. What other channels don't bother to tell you is that there's an additional 2 months worth of evidence to analyze. But first, let me start with this viral video of their fateful first encounter. On May 3rd, 2011, a strange man who they've never seen before randomly stands outside of the apartment of a YouTuber named Andrew J. Neese. Andrew and his girlfriend do what most people would do and dial for help. Here's the original phone call with the authorities. Tell me if you think it's real.
And he's just like looking up at the window. He's been there for about 30 minutes now. Yeah, male, maybe about, I don't know, maybe about 30, I guess. I can't tell.
There's never an actual voice on the other end, which makes me suspect it could be staged, and I thought 911 operators were trained to stay on the line until police come. That's not what happens here.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, that's where most channels leave off, but this is actually just the beginning. What most people don't know is that there's another 911 phone call made by his girlfriend the very next night on May 4th to anyone who has ever worked in emergency response. Tell me if this second phone call sounds legit or if they're just pretending to talk to someone.
I'd really like you to do something about it. Yeah, my boyfriend already made a report. We're on there's a parking lot behind our house. Yeah, 6:50. Okay, thanks.
Another night passes, and the figure returns, silent and wide-eyed as ever. Andrew gets upset enough to say something this time, and look what happens to the camera when he does.
Hey. Hey.
I don't know what's going on.
A red flash occurs at 58 seconds, a brief electronic disturbance possibly induced by an intensive wave of emotions, perhaps a telekinetic reaction to getting yelled at. I only say this because the exact same curious red flash happens 6 days later on May 12th, except this time, their stalker is not even there. They simply sense him and then the flash appears.
He's not even there!
Alright.
And by June 17th, it's gotten to the point where Andrew's motion sensor camera keeps zooming in on a figure that simply isn't there. The equipment is having trouble focusing. In other words, on the very same spot where their not-so-secret admirer had stood for over a month straight. So is Andrew manually making it go out of focus, or is there an invisible phantom figure really standing there like he says? But I'm getting way ahead of myself by mentioning the events of June. That's a particularly bad month for them, and we still aren't done talking about May 8th to be exact, when they first started to suspect the perpetrator could be supernatural.
Hey, look, he's throwing the window.
His arms are at his sides, and yet something pings off the window.
Fuck, I don't even see him throwing anything.
Oh my god, but how is he doing that?
And sure enough, there's another odd flash at 1 minute and 6 seconds, like something's feeding off the peak of their fear, growing stronger. No longer is the watcher satisfied with leering at them from the corner. He now wants inside. A full month of harassment accumulates in scraps of paper, all saying the same word, hello. Apparently, this is some form of psychotic social interaction for whoever's doing this. A creepy game they are just beginning to play. Time only makes the man grow bolder. By June 20th, the tapping is all over their windows. It's the sound of someone's finger against glass, and yet there's no silhouette to be seen. Either they are behind the couch tapping, or they're somehow making this noise from the alley outside. Left on the window is a picture of this creepy smiling face with X'd out eyes. Only someone who's really into the idea of tormenting two totally innocent people would bother drawing this, let alone deliver it in person. Little does Andrew or his girlfriend know they are less than 1 day from seeing him up close for themselves. On June 22nd, there's more tapping, which is not even that unusual by this point. And so Andrew's girlfriend goes to the window thinking that no one is there. She throws open the blinds, still recording for evidence, and waiting for her is the watcher himself, closer than he has ever been before. It's hard to see, but at 47 seconds he's holding an illustration of the same grisly face as before, X'd out eyes, this time with a message that says hello in the same handwriting as the scrap notes left by their door. I doubt he just wants to only say hello for much longer. Soon he will probably be saying goodbye to them, probably moments before he ends their lives. So if he's standing outside of the house in May and outside of their window by June, then he will probably be standing somewhere inside their house by July. Thankfully, they managed to move out before my theory gets put to the test. Now in a different location with iron bars, they finally feel safe for the first time in months, but their hopes of a peaceful life are shattered by the 1st of July when a familiar figure slides in. Something's off about this extra blurry entrance. He doesn't walk into frame so much as simply materializes. And come to think of it, I've never actually seen him move before. Then when it's time to leave, he vanishes, leaving only a faint trace as he walks. It could be the camera, or it could be editing, or it could be an actual ghost, in which case this may have been the last video, but I doubt it was their final encounter. Number 3. Annie Bennett and her boyfriend move into this old farmhouse 2.5 years ago and have been experiencing a lot of strange happenings ever since, particularly in this blue dining room. The instruments tend to play by themselves over the years, but for some reason this piano has been getting all of the attention lately, so it's where they decide to set up the camera. Hardly anything at all happens in part 1, which is 10 minutes long and slow enough to elicit some angry comments from people too impatient to get all the way through, but then there's some good moments that I want to point out, like how at 4 minutes and 17 seconds there's a strange light on the wall for absolutely no reason. It doesn't look like a laser pointer and it never happens again. Then the clock strikes 2:19 a.m. and mysteriously pops open. I see no string and no other way for them to have done this, but maybe you do. I suppose now is a more appropriate time to share more about the history of this farmhouse. There used to be an old woman who lived here all by herself. They say at 2:19 in the morning was the exact moment when she is said to have passed on. She was said to have been musically gifted. At 2:19 is also where the Spencer piano seemingly plays by itself. So this high note is conveniently coming from a key that's not even on camera. Obviously Annie or her boyfriend have to be sitting off to the side, or at least that's what I thought until I saw this next part. Okay, so that's not supposed to happen. I'm thinking that maybe the piano wires are worn out and old, which can sometimes cause a note to play by itself, but I don't think that's why, because nothing like this happened for a full 10 minutes prior. This tray and clock move at the same time. One of them could have pulled the tray by the corner that's off camera, sure, but the way the clock's open is something I can't explain. And as the night wears on, the spirit becomes stronger, able to play more. Please tell me this piano is one of the old-fashioned types that can play by itself. Otherwise, I have absolutely no idea how this is possible. And even if it can play by itself, I've never seen a piano that can do what it does at 5 minutes and 49 seconds. Self-playing? Maybe. Self-shutting? No way. I guess Annie could have slammed the lid shut while off camera, but after this reflection fades away like someone is sitting down, I can safely say I've officially run out of rational explanations and can only assume this to be paranormal. And I don't care if someone is sitting off camera or not, there's no way for them to play a piano with the lid on. I can't even explain half of these paranormal occurrences, so I have to conclude that this farmhouse is almost definitely haunted by someone who refuses to accept that they've passed on. Number 2. October of 2017 is when a Canadian YouTuber named Moosey started to experience supernatural problems in his home that were far from normal. Things like spirit sightings and hearing voices. Something is in his house with him, something he can't see and wants gone. One afternoon, Moosey is playing a PS4 game with his brother when the television starts acting up in a way that's been happening far too often lately.
And it's really weird, like, he's been telling me it's been happening all day.
Somebody could have simply turned it off with a remote. His brother Joe isn't holding the remote, but maybe Moosey is. I don't think it was either one of them though, because it looks like somebody unplugged the television, even though they were both across the room.
Guys, what the f***? This is what I'm saying. Disconnected again. What's going on?
And when you look again at 4 minutes and 23 seconds, you might be able to see the faintest orb go by his wrist. Since this was made in October, I was thinking maybe this was a Halloween video or something like that, but Moosey's paranormal problems continued well into November. That's when it moved into his room. He claims he can no longer sleep because it feels as if something is watching over him.
Guys, I don't know what's going on. There's just something preventing me.
At 1 minute and 30 seconds, there are bags under his eyes that were not visible in the previous video from a week ago, so I see no reason not to believe what he says.
I was tired, I said, yeah, you can see bags under my eyes because I get really tired at my house.
After days of no sleep, he now has a plan to cleanse the room. Moosey blends a special root with various household ingredients to make a powdery substance that is believed to keep spirits away. Interestingly enough, the sound on his camera cuts out and this orb appears just outside of his room, so perhaps there is some value in what he's about to do after all. I think it's interesting how the sound cuts off again here, almost like the spirits don't want to hear him finish what he has to say.
Demons, be gone.
Or it could have just been a technical problem uploading the video to YouTube. Anyway, after completing the exorcism, he waits until 3 AM before declaring everything is okay. He didn't wait long enough though. This is what happens 5 minutes after 3 AM.
Free me from all this. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Did you guys hear that?
I really wish he would have thrown open the door here, so we could have seen for ourselves what was on the other side. The fact that he waits for almost a full minute makes me wonder if this really was his nerves betraying him, or just stalling to give his friends time to get off camera. Nothing is in the other room, but if he wanted to prove beyond a doubt that his house was haunted, he should have swallowed his fear and opened the door a bit sooner. Easier said than done, I guess. Moosey did eventually move 2 years later. He and Hype Mike are giving a tour of their new house when it becomes apparent that his paranormal troubles are far from over.
Jesse, Mike, Nick. Whoa!
The knocking comes from behind him, yet no one is at the door. However, in the mirror stands a small hooded figure, or maybe it's just the top of Hype Mike's hat. When they check the camera, the picture becomes garbled by what I suspect is paranormal energy from the same ghost as before. It's found their new address and it wants in. At 8 minutes and 27 seconds, they catch a glimpse of someone running up the stairs. Then they see it in a different monitor right outside of their door before the screen goes white. And that's when what happens in Moosey's old house at 3 a.m. repeats itself. The door somehow locks even though they're on the side with a lock on it. So that's either paranormal or just an oversight in their skit, but I was kind of let down when they show it. I'm sorry, but I absolutely refuse to believe that this person in an all-black spandex outfit is a ghost. So I'm not exactly buying this one, but it doesn't mean that the videos in his old house weren't real, or that this wasn't a crazy fan who got their address. I've got a challenge for you. Since you've made it this far, why not like this video and hit subscribe in the next 5 seconds? Because I upload 4 new scary videos every week. If you're curious about what I look like in real life, then go to my Instagram at DylanIsChillinYT and tap that follow button to find out. Number 1. This video, uploaded on October 19th of 2018 by a YouTuber named MacLeod, has gone viral across many different countdown channels. As many times as I've seen this video, none of them have ever given MacLeod proper credit. These channels all insist this video was real, but MacLeod is a super talented special effects artist who made this 3D model using a rubber duck of all things. When lightning strikes at 1 minute and 5 seconds, you can just barely make out the rubber duck shape against the sky. Other than that, there would be nothing to suggest that this was fake other than the title of the original posting, which literally calls it a Cthulhu rubber duck. I think MacLeod used a rubber duck to demonstrate that anything can be made scary using special effects, even toys. So if you ever see a countdown channel saying that this video is real, know that you're getting inaccurate information for that entry. I just wanted to give credit where credit is due. Some giant creatures are all over the internet, while others are less frequently seen.